You're on, Ian.
Well, hello, good evening, and welcome to episode 59. I had to think about that one of fracking. No, it's not even fracking nightmare. It's humanity versus insanity. As you can see, things are a little bit different this week because I'm not in the studio in Plymouth. Although, thanks to the wonderful technical expertise of Mike Robinson at UK Column, I am transmitting to you from the north of England. But my guest tonight is also a long way away from Plymouth because he's in the Netherlands. But just a quick overview as to why I'm in the north of England, because I was planning on being in the studio. But unfortunately, on Saturday evening, I walked away from my fifth car wreck in 30 years. And as somebody actually pointed out to me, the road fairies were once again on point. And it's the fifth time I've literally walked away without a scratch. Unfortunately, the vehicle didn't fare quite so well, but of course it did do exactly what it's supposed to do, which is crumpled and bore the brunt of the impact. So nothing suspicious here. It was simply atrocious weather conditions. Unfortunately, I was on my way to the Christmas party of Frack-Free Rydale. To celebrate their frack-free year, but I'm sure they had a great time without me there. So that's the reason I'm in the north of England, and my guest tonight is a gentleman who I first met earlier this year when he came along to AV6, but also invited me to speak at an event that he was hosting in the Netherlands a few weeks after the AV6 event. So it is with great pleasure that I welcome Willem Velderhof. So Willem, are you there?
I'm here.
Now, we've also had a bit of drama at your end today because about 4 o'clock my time, you called me to say that your computer was about 2 hours away from where you were in Amsterdam.
Yes, that's correct, because we came from The Hague. I'm with a friend. And we traveled to Amsterdam to stay here because people are coming to the conference. So I decided already to go here in an apartment of a friend. But we traveled here, and upon arrival, at the moment I stepped in here, I realized that I forgot my laptop. So I parked my car outside of Amsterdam because the parking fees here are, I think, maybe highest in the world. So I parked my car outside of Amsterdam because I'm not going to leave here for 2 days, and then I realized the laptop forgot. So I had to go back by train. The Dutch train railway service is, I think, also the worst in the world, maybe.
I think they're the best in the world. I seem to remember they actually run on time.
That's a long time ago, I think. But anyways, but I had to go back, and I made it in time. So that's good. So I'm back. Yeah, I'm fully at your service at this time.
Excellent. Well, it's an absolute pleasure to hook up with you. And of course, I will be seeing you later this week when I come over to Amsterdam to participate in the event. So, I mean, you've really pushed it's an English turn of phrase here, you've pushed the boat out, because this is the second conference that you've organised in literally 6 months. We had the Open Mind event in I think it was early June, and now you've decided to host a second event. So give us a little bit of background, Willem. What motivated you to organise your first Open Mind event earlier this year?
Well, Ian, since you organized 7, I thought I had to speed up a little bit because we don't have much time. So I thought, let's do a quick second one. No, actually, after the first one, I was in a state. Okay, this was good that I've done it. Nice experience, a lot of work, a lot of insights, and good for everything. But I decided never to do this, never again, actually. And but. All the events in the past half year, I mean, the insanity is increasing in such a level that this is really urgent. People are waking up in an exponential way, seeing through things, seeing that something is really wrong, but don't know what to do. It's going in such a speed. So I thought it's good to do it again quickly, just on short notice, which gives the other parties maybe less time to make ridiculous articles in newspaper or whatever. So it's all improvised, which is actually nice because everybody's helping. We all do it together, and no fancy stuff. It's on donation base, and it's an opportunity for people to come together. That's the essence, actually, for people to come together, share information, feel safe, and have the momentum going. And the most important thing is that this has to be a conference where people leave and then going to act after conference, not go back like it's a sort of entertainment thing, which, I mean, I don't mean it in a negative way, but we come now at a point that we really have to go, like, quick. It's borrowed time, and the message has to be, now is the time to act. So that's why I thought, let's do it like this. But again, it's quite challenging.
It's fantastic,
especially when you forget your laptop.
Yeah, really. And of course, I can completely understand you saying that after the first one that, that was it, you were never going to do another one. Because first, by the way, that's exactly how I felt after AV1. And then the universe conspired to twist my arm. And, I've ended up, well, we've done 6 to date. 7th, of course, is in May. But your first event in June of this year, you actually had to change the venue literally, I think, about 3 days before the event. So can you just tell us what happened there?
Yes, it was not 3, it was like 8 days before. I informed the location where supposedly initially the conference was planned, that certain elements in society will not be happy. They're going to try to sabotage the conference. They're going to make it difficult. And then they say, no, we want to help. It's good for the information to come out. So, and then it happened. Ridiculous articles in newspaper. Holocaust deniers coming. It's anti-Semites. It's a very aggressive thing or whatever. They try to poke it up. So then suddenly all these people became very nervous and they pulled back. So we had to change the location at the last moment. But we did manage then. So it was quite challenging. But people are not happy.
It was, and I have to say that the venue was an outstanding venue. And, considering you had to change the venue at such short notice, you still had a packed house.
Yeah. It actually, the more they try to do these things and sabotage things, the more interest is created, the more people think, hey, we should go here because there's something to do. So there must be something there that there is such a reaction. So a lot of people came, actually, people who even didn't know about it. They read it in the newspapers, so they just come and they saw that there's nothing to do with anything like they predicted. It was ridiculous. At the Jewish synagogue in Amsterdam, there were heavy military people standing at the day of the conference. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I know. It's completely outrageous, but not surprising. We'll talk a little bit later, but there's a phenomenal effort going on right now to try to neuter and silence, the activists, particularly those who are apparently making an impact. But Willem, before to move on, because we don't have too long tonight, we're 45-minute show, so let's bring up on screen the flyer here for the event. This is the Open Mind Conference 2015, the second one of the year, on the 19th of December. And Willem, you've already made the observation that this is going to effectively be an event where you're inviting people to just come along and make a donation. So there's no restriction on entry, other than, of course, the size of the venue. But if people want to come along, then they can do so, and hopefully, and we'll talk about the speakers that you got lined up in a second, but hopefully that they'll feel it is of sufficient benefit, and they'll make sufficient donations to at least cover all your costs. So let me just pull up this next slide here, because this is the graphic that I put together for my presentation, and we'll talk about the other speakers that you got lined up, but I'm going to discuss the global lockdown, the total control agenda. And I've experienced this myself in the last 2 weeks, where on the morning of the Syria vote in the British Parliament, I woke up to find that Facebook had removed every single post that I had ever made on any wall, either group or personal, other than my own. And Facebook responded to my appeals by saying, well, it's a two-week ban. Now, that 2-week ban is actually up tomorrow, so we'll find out whether or not they're true to their word, or that the restriction is more permanent. But of course, this is a bit of a wake-up call, and it means that we really got to start to think about spreading the eggs around various baskets and not relying on a central medium like Facebook for information sharing. But of course, I'd be also covering the broader issues of the lockdown, the surveillance agenda, and bringing into play documents in some cases that go back almost 100 years, which show that pretty much everything that's unfolding right now is scripted, and it's not random, it's not happening by accident. And those are people who have read the scripts, of course, know exactly what is about to unfold, unless, of course, as you rightly say, Willem, we actually get involved and work to bring about an alternative outcome. So that's my contribution. Now, the other speakers, let's bring this next slide up here. So, Willem, talk us through the other speakers.
First speaker you see there is Ole Dammegaard. Ole Dammegaard is an amazing guy, actually. He's doing research for over 30 years, painstaking research, continuing research, and exposing the truth actually on assassinations, false flag operations, in the broader sense. And so he's going to speak. JFK, that started. He wrote books about the murder on Olof Palme. He connected the dots on these assassinations and saw the shadow governments and the darker elements behind all these things. It's all connected. But in the beginning, like 35 years ago, I talked with him about it. How did he do it? There was no alternative media, but with cards, it's like a monk work what he does on this part. He's going to speak. I'm very happy that he's coming, and he's going to speak about the latest events in Paris, the attacks in Paris.
And no doubt share his thoughts on those which are about to come as as Operation Gladio is effectively reignited. And I think we can expect to see similar type of events in other European cities in the quest to bring about the lockdown.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I mean, this one was already after the engineered immigration. You could see what's happening. Okay, it's gonna be in now in Europe, easiest attacks. But just to refer to you what you said about Facebook, I'm suppressed as well. I cannot promote the conference. I cannot invite people. It's almost impossible to make another website. Certain subjects where I speak about or are highly, suppressed. Again, they've been taken off. So that's the same. I experience exactly the same.
Yeah, it seems that the censorship agenda, is well underway. And of course, I mean, actually, we all, to some extent, to the greater extent, swallowed the bait. So, we were all lured to this wonderful tool, Facebook, which enabled us to share information widely. And of course, we didn't use it in the way in which it was designed to be used. So, the alternative community, the research community uses it in a very different way than, say, high school students. But it seems that what it's done is it's enabled them, of course, to identify the activists, and particularly those who were making impact, and just lure them in, and then cut them off.
Yes. So yeah, and that's also a part, very important element of my talk at the conference, because I talk for a big part about Geo-Engineering, and the essence of the talk is actually I mean, geoengineering is, you can go for 4 years on the internet and you still don't know exactly what geoengineering is,
Well,
what it
let's talk,
does, who does it.
before we talk
So
about Willem, before we talk about geoengineering, because we're going to spend a bit of time on the show talking about that. So tell us about Desiree Rover.
yeah, Desiree Rover, she's going to speak about the health situation. Well, that's very broad as well, but about out of her own experience, her knowledge about pharmaceutical industry, the vaccines, health problems today, and how is it interrelated with the pharmaceutical industries, and her own experience. And she's a real forefighter for this, to get this information out, truth about vaccines. And if you see how she is being suppressed and being attacked, it's clearly, it's shameful, really. I mean, so I'm very happy that she's coming. She's continuing to speak out the truth, information about this, and also from out her own experience. So that's good for people to reflect on, because a lot of people see it.
Desiree actually, I do believe I'm correct in saying that Desiree actually lost a child some years ago now, but she lost a child, and she's absolutely of the opinion that the child's death was as a result of the vaccine program.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So yeah, Desiree certainly is a very powerful speaker, and it's quite a while since I've seen her speak. But and then you, of course, you yourself will speak, and now we're going to obviously you're going to be touching on geoengineering, and let's just bring up this next picture here, because is this a book you've written, Willem? Geoengineering and Radiation?
No, no, it isn't. No, it's a cover made by Ole. It's because I was planning to do a talk about geoengineering, EMF, radiation, but that it's changed over time, because everything changes so quickly, and as well my talk, because I didn't plan for a conference when this announcement was made. I was just planning to do just a tour and do talks about geoengineering and EMF. But this changed over time in the past 1 or 2 months. So my talk will not only be about EMF radiation, about geoengineering, but also other aspects which are more important now. So it's changed a little bit. But geoengineering will be a core aspect of the talk. Yeah.
Well, and of course, it's a subject that people would do very well to listen to what you have to say on the subject, because in this next slide we've got you in your place of work, and if we move on to the next slide, we get a better picture perhaps of that. And here you are sitting in the right hand seat of what looks like a passenger airliner.
That's correct. That's an MD-11 actually. I thought almost you're going to say the right type of aircraft, but it's a MD-11. Yeah, I flew for 16 years as co-pilot on the MD-11 within KLM.
Okay, the McDonnell Douglas. I know the McDonnell Douglas DC-11. I remember them very well. I used to fly them with Continental Airlines a lot.
Yeah, beautiful big windows, as you see. So that's
yeah. So how many years were you flying these jets?
I flew in totally for 25 years, 23 years. First Boeing 737, and for 17 years the MD-11 with KLM as co-pilot, and then switched to Captain Europe at Boeing 737.
Okay.
And before that, I did
was it incident free?
In my case, it was quite incident free. Besides the fact that I became a whistleblower, of course. But you can call that an incident as well.
Yeah, you became a whistleblower on, well, let's have a look at the next slide here, because this is a very interesting shot. So, Willem, talk us through what we're looking at here.
Well, this is clearly a picture of aerosol skies, aerosol sprayed clouds, particles. What you see there. We call it chemtrails, but chemtrails really, you should stay out of the term chemtrails. This is what you see is a part of geoengineering, actually. You want to have a right answer on it.
Sorry, I've just got a bit of a problem with my. There we go. Got a bit of a problem with my setup here. So, Willem, you said it's geoengineering. So, what is actually being sprayed here, in your opinion?
I don't know exactly what's there sprayed. I mean, there are hundreds of different chemicals, nanoparticles, viruses, bacteria. It's such a broad scala of elements that can be sprayed. But here's definitely particle spraying, and most likely aluminium, barium, strontium, and all this the familiar, the most common elements in this aerosol spraying. But there can be much more in it. But there is definitely something going wrong with this sky. It's not a natural sky, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's have a look at the next slide, and that's the same again. I mean, unfortunately, for many people of the younger generation, these are the skies they've pretty much grown up with. But, those of us who are a little bit further along in years, of course, we do actually remember the literal clear blue skies, those crystal blue, particularly autumn and spring days, which seem to have almost disappeared now. And unfortunately, we have this kind of haze that wafts across the sky. And by the way, Willem, as I literally had a conversation just a couple of days ago with somebody in the medical profession who made the observation that vitamin D deficiency is at the highest levels in the UK since records began.
Yeah, well, that's quite logical if you know that there is global dimming, 25+% global dimming the past decade. So that means that there is 26% less sunlight is reaching the Earth's surface. So there is a huge epidemic shortage of vitamin D because of this. So it's not strange.
And yet this is something that is absolutely denied. And, I have to make the observation from my own experience that, those people who have an attachment to the Al Gore version of climate change, previously known as global warming, seem to have an inversely proportional ability to acknowledge geoengineering.
Yeah, well said. It's staggering. It's really shocking in a way. I mean, there are 2,000 top scientists talking about global warming, and let's be clear: global warming is fact. The planet is warming, definitely. But geoengineering programs, solar radiation management, these programs are really fueling this in an exponential way. It's the most devastating element in the whole global warming issue, and it's ongoing for decades. These programs are ongoing, and it's now so blatantly visible, and it's also officially acknowledged. Internal documents, it's acknowledged. But these scientists, 2,000 scientists, don't mention a word about geoengineering. It's very weird. This is scientific cognitive dissonance in the ultimate form, I think, something like that. It's really very interesting as well.
Well, and of course, then you have the media hype of climate change, and of course, this weekend has been the Paris event, and it seems that the British media has basically today been focusing on the commitment that's come out of Paris to eradicate cooking by gas within the next decade. In fact, even less. I mean, something of this ilk. Forgive me, but if I was if I was working as a sales director or vice president of sales for a company that manufactured electric or halogen cookers, then this would be a day to celebrate, because what's happened here is that the materialists in the industry have had an absolute field day.
True. It is absolute insanity. I mean, if you go into this, if you're going to discuss this, it's you cannot even give words to this. I find it personally more important that two friends of mine are now 3 weeks in jail. These are just peaceful, very sweet people. They are 3 weeks in jail. Nobody knows where they are. In France, two friends of mine who were just speaking out about Geo-Engineering. They were just heading for Paris. They just were there. They're now 3 weeks locked away in France. That's
and of course the legislation that enables the French government to do this has all been enacted as a result of the events in Paris, which have conveniently disappeared from the mainstream media. In fact, once it became apparent that the alternative community was doing a detailed analysis of what had unfolded or allegedly unfolded in Paris, and it became increasingly evident that the official version of events was literally just falling apart. And so literally inside a week, it effectively disappeared from the British media.
Yeah.
But of course, it enabled them to put in place the special measures to literally arrest anybody who they thought was in any way going to disrupt the climate change conference.
That's true. And what they actually did already the past few days, they implemented these laws under the martial law in France. They have now implemented them in the constitution. It's not anymore that it's like when it's war. They now implemented in the constitution certain laws. The 2,500 people have been arrested in France the past few weeks. So it will be interesting when I go back to France. But it's happening in our face. We don't have any time. It's coming in Holland. It will come everywhere. So we can discuss whether a chemtrail is true or not. Blah blah blah. We literally don't have time anymore. It's there. We talk about insanity here. We're discussing things. People are being arrested here around us. People like us. It's gonna happen. So we don't have time to discuss anymore. You can check your water. You can check your blood. You can check the patents, and you can look up. That's enough. You don't have to go on the internet and go to the rabbit hole. You have to act. You have to go out, speak to your neighbors locally. Exactly what you did. You're a perfect example, Ian, of this. Locally, very locally, acting now. It's over. We're screwed. We're being exterminated. Literally, it's now. That's why,
And what is even more absurd, of course, is we are effectively being exterminated by our own hand, because effectively what's happening is that the ruling parasites are recruiting people who are effectively, they become their prostitutes, and this is effectively the subject that I was discussing in episode 58 of Humanity versus Insanity. The ruling parasites, they don't carry out these events themselves. They use gullible humans who they effectively lure with the promise of money or high office or lifestyle, and all they got to do in return is sell their soul and participate in the genocidal agenda.
Exactly. This morning I experienced in The Hague, 5 minutes past 9. There was a guy in an apartment here. He did his best, and he got a parking ticket. He was just inside. He ran outside. He got a parking ticket for 100 euros, and I went ballistic. So I went outside. I said, do you have any common sense here? This guy, you don't earn $1 million. In 5 minutes, and he says, he knows. He takes the risk. Rules are rules. Literally, this guy. The whole army on the street.
It is totally absurd. And of course, we're going to be talking about this at the weekend as well. But it is this total attack on humanity. To keep everybody dumbed down, to shut down the capacity for independent thought.
True, and shifting to the hard consciousness. But on the other way, it's happening. I mean, they can suppress as much as they want with radiation, keep us in your lower frequencies, but you see it happening. I had beautiful experience today with a taxi driver, Moroccan taxi driver. We were talking about Morocco. We were on a heart level, seeing things through the ridiculousness of ISIS, of all the stuff. Just in a taxi, just when I got my laptop in The Hague. You know, a beautiful experience. Heart consciousness is rising. You cannot stop this. But we have to make this step. We have to make this. That's the spiritual element. That's an important thing. And that's what I'm going to discuss. And that's very interesting. Your talk will be very interesting because you see it happening. But on the other hand, it's coming through. The awakening is happening. It's fact. And the heart consciousness.
Absolutely.
And we have
Absolutely.
to go
And as you rightly say, we have to turn it into action.
Exactly.
So, Willem, I just want to show a couple more slides because once again, you know, these skies are there for all to see, and I think the one here that we have, you know, looking at a twilight skyline here, but anybody who thinks that those are contrails or that reflects flight patterns. I mean, you know, I think any of us who have even lived near an airport know that the aircraft all take off in one direction and land obviously in the same direction. You do not have aircraft traveling at 90 degrees to each other.
That's true. And besides that, the conditions, the atmospheric conditions to form a persistent contrail, persistent ice crystal contrail, what you see there, you have to have atmospheric conditions which are actually almost never there. You have to be above 30,000 feet. Temperature has to be minus 40 degrees. You have to have a relative humidity or moisture of 67% minimal. And that's hardly never ever the case. So this is all, scientifically, it's physics. It's impossible to see these contrails appear there non-stop. This is partly clouded today, what you show there. People think that's partly clouded.
Yeah, and in fact, that would be a beautiful clear sky if it weren't for the trails.
Yes.
And in the next slide, I mean, if you know, looking at it's one thing to see the aircraft traveling at 90 degrees to each other. In the next slide, I mean, here it's almost like they're signing their name in the sky.
Well, anything who think this is commercial traffic should have a real serious reality check.
Absolutely. And of course, as is always the case, you know, we simply encourage people to do their own research and, you know, not to take anything that we say at face value. You know, the information is out there and, you know, they simply have to suspend their attachment to orthodoxy and actually start to believe what they see with their own eyes rather than just swallow whatever it is that they're being told by the lamestream media.
Yes, and especially what they see with their own heart. Just go out, look up, follow your heart, see what's happening, feel what your body says, see what your heart says. That's enough. You can go on the internet, great, very important. But your body is talking to you, your heart is talking to you, and if you look around you, if you ask around you, if you feel what's happening, you know instantly. And you can go for 2 years on the internet, and you still don't know if geoengineering, global warming. That's another rabbit hole. That's 9/11 in the big, the geoengineering thing. But still, you're right. Do research, but just challenge your heart. Just see what your body says, and you know something is wrong. That's enough. That's enough.
Absolutely.
It never lies. The body never lies. The heart never lies.
It's the intuition. And also the discretion and the discernment, and of course discretion and discernment are key elements of any research, because you know there is a lot of mis and disinformation out there, and I mean, as we know, those of us who challenge the establishment, who challenge orthodoxy, you know, can come under attack from multiple angles.
I know, yeah, too. But
so just to endorse what you were saying just now. About the documentation that is available. This next slide here is from the British Royal Society, and this is from a conference on geoengineering. In fact, the title of the conference was Geoengineering the Climate, science, governance, and uncertainty. And this information is freely available online. People can read the reports, from this event. And in the next slide, we have the recommendations from this particular conference. But beyond this, I mean, if people actually look at weather modification, and they see that even the UN outlawed weather modification as a weapon, I think as far back as 1977, if my memory serves me correctly. So this is something that has been around for a long time, and in fact, I know that in Texas there is actually a weather modification bureau where their responsibility is to plan active weather modification, and they actually put a value on it. They put a value, a benefit in terms of revenue to the state because it enhances the growing season or the existing crops. So it is there for all to see, and yet is denied by people who have literally an existential attachment to the orthodoxy of climate change.
Yeah, it's truly amazing. There is a huge casino on weather derivatives. On the weather derivatives is active, and there is billions and billions of dollars going through this casino of weather derivatives, and they're the same players. They speculate on draft in certain areas. They speculate on insurance, on in winter areas, in ski areas. It's an online casino almost of weather derivatives. How insane can you have that? And the same players own the weather channels. It's Raytheon, the defense contractor, Geo-Engineering contractor, and they own weather channels. So it's in a higher level, the insanity of it, and it's full on operational since 1947. Weather modification programs. I mean, we had Operation Popeye in Vietnam with the cloud seeding in North Vietnam and causing terrestrial range, destroying the infrastructure in North Vietnam. They denied it, they lied, and it appeared that they had it fully operational in this war. So why shouldn't they do this now? And we see it's visible. It's there. It's documented. So. It's ridiculous.
Well, and of course, I think it's also. I'll just put it as speculation, but there is much speculation that the HAARP arrays, particularly the phenomenally powerful HAARP array in Alaska, works in conjunction with the trailing and the seeding to create extreme weather, and this is what Naomi Klein refers to as crisis capitalism. So you create the extreme weather. And then who gets the benefit from it?
Exactly. The same people. You come on the same corporation, same people. It's all the same. It's draining the system, getting more greed, making money, but in the same time playing with elements they don't know. It was playing with nature. If you see what they're doing with the atmosphere, with the Earth. With the biosphere, we live on a clinically dead planet, and then they come up with these programs which enhance global warming. I mean, global warming and the aerosol spraying that's causing global warming. It traps the heat. It's a toxic straitjacket where the planet is. It cannot respond on what's happening.
And if we take it to the next level, then it goes from geoengineering into terraforming. And literally changes not overnight, of course, but it evolves into a totally different biosphere. And of course, I would also argue that something like fracking, the unconventional gas agenda, contributes to this very significantly by a phenomenal increase in the methane content. So in terms of the whole atmosphere, the content, the makeup of the atmosphere is changing, and actually it is changing at a phenomenal rate of knots.
That's true. And I mean, we don't look at the sky anymore. It's no blue sky. It's a white mist. It's a plasma, actually. It's aerosol electroconductive particles where we're looking at, which can be manipulated with electromagnetic radiation, with 20 HARP installations throughout the world. But the methane, that's the real elephant in the room, if you want to call it like that. We have now 5 tons or gigatons of methane in the atmosphere. But scientists in the Arctic region, Arctic Emergency Methane Group, they blow the whistle on the fact that every moment 50 gigatons of methane can be released in Siberia because it's in the methane hydrates. It's because of the temperatures.
The methane exactly, the methane hydrates, which have stored this naturally for millennia.
Yeah,
and now being released. So, Willem, I've got one more picture here of a sky. Now, this is something else, and I'm assuming that this is a genuine picture. I mean, because it is just truly staggering. I mean, I have certainly seen something close to this, though not quite to this extent. But, once again, anybody who believes this to be a natural formation is seriously cognitively dissonant.
Yes. Then you really do have to do a serious reality check. I mean, it is, you cannot have it more in your face. Then that's the good thing as well of geoengineering, because you see it. EMF radiation, which is twice of the same as bad for our body, for our health. It keeps us low. But you cannot see it. It's more difficult for people to grasp on it. But geoengineering, you can really see what's happening. So it's also a sort of portal for rising consciousness.
You see it, but it is incredible how many people actually refuse to see it.
I didn't see it. I was a pilot. I got in 2009 an email from somebody. He said, "Can you look in the chemtrails?" Because somebody asking to me. So I said, "I will have a look. I don't deny it." So I came back. I said, listen, for my knowledge as a pilot, my technical knowledge of aviation, of turbofan engines, I don't think it's technically possible, besides the reasons why they should do it. But after that, I started looking into it, and then suddenly I saw it. It's the same like beauty. Like beauty, if you drive to nature and you say, wow, look at this, and you just, it doesn't see it. You have to be able to see it in a way. So I didn't see it. As a pilot, I watched 10,000 hours to the sky, 10,000 hours. So, and I was at a reunion with all senior pilots, 10,000 hours plus, really experienced guys. And we were biking to the region last year, and it was full blown on. And I said, listen, guys, it's your job to analyze the sky, to know the cloud formation, dynamics. You have to anticipate. It's your job. This is not natural. And they were looking up, and they said, we don't see it. They thought maybe here's this whistleblower. He's coming there again with his view. But 3 weeks later, I received an email of one of these guys. He said, listen, Willem, I didn't see it, but I started looking at it, and I've seen it. My whole world tumbled down, but he's full on dived into it now. So it takes the mind, the rigid mind, left brain mind. We don't look at, we see in a mirror. We look in a sort of mirror. I don't know what it is. But when we go to the heart, we can see, and that is happening. That we need to go to make this step.
Well, and Willem, we're almost out of time, so it's been absolutely fascinating to speak with you this evening, and I know it won't be our last conversation on humanity versus insanity. Obviously, I will see you this weekend. But where can people get information about the Open Mind Conference this Saturday, and where can they get hold of tickets?
Okay, it's on donation base, so people can just come there. So you don't need to...
They can just turn up. They don't need to book in advance.
Yeah, they don't need to book in advance. They can just turn up. On the Facebook page, because there's no website, that was not possible. So you have to go to Facebook and then just Open Mind Conference... .nl or NL on the Facebook page, and then you'll find it. Or on centrumzonnewijzer.nl. because the conference is held in the same location, and that's Centrum Zonnewijzer in Aalsmeer. So if you go on the website...
Okay, so basically we encourage people to go to Facebook, simply search for Open Mind Amsterdam, and there they can get all the information.
Yeah. So, and then there's on
Willem,
Saturday...
It's an absolute pleasure to speak with you, and of course, hopefully people will acknowledge that as a pilot with 30 plus years experience in the air, and the recognition that what's being pumped out into our skies isn't natural, then if just one person sees this program and decides to take a look and do a little bit of research for themselves, then it's all been worthwhile. So that's it from Fracking Nightmare, episode number 59. It's also the last program of 2015. And unfortunately, there won't be any further episodes of Fracking Nightmare in 2015. But it's great that we can celebrate yet another frack-free year in the UK. And with the price of oil tanking down to the mid-30s, 35 or so bucks a barrel, then the unconventional gas industry is looking more and more like a zombie industry. So who knows? Maybe we can get through 2016 frack-free, and maybe by the end of 2016 we can see this industry, this insidious industry, shut down once and for all. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful Christmas and New Year, and I will see you in 2016.